This is Charlie Turnbull. We are talking masterclass on goat's curd. Masterclass on goat's curd. Now, you might ask yourself, why do I need a masterclass on goat's curd? There is nothing complicated about goat's curd. And then actually, that's kind of true. The masterclass concept is this idea that you reach into the complex flavors, but don't underestimate the simple. The goat's curd is the oldest cheese, probably the oldest cheese ever. It's the one they were making 10,000 years ago out in the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East when they first domesticated animals. This is what happens if you leave milk just to sour. Now, good cheesemakers can make that a brilliant experience, and bad cheesemakers can actually make it quite a dangerous experience, because if you've got the bacteria kicking off to souring the milk, who knows what bacteria you've got present. But nowadays, we can rely on some absolute stunning examples of goat's curd. Now, we won't be looking for complexity. We will be looking for clarity, lots of things into texture. So let's take a look. I've got one here that is made by a Rosary Goat's cheese south of Salisbury in Wiltshire in the UK in England. Now, there are 4 different examples here, but these are the same cheese. I just shaped them up slightly differently because one of the first points I want to make today when we talk about masterclasses is that it's versatile, flexible. You can cook with it, you can shape, you can do all sorts of funky with it. And it really, really loves flavor. So throw herbs, throw honey, throw fruit at fresh goat's cheese, and you've got really, really beautiful cheeses. Right, so what does it taste like? That's probably the first thing you're asking. Well, this is a soft cheese, so we're expecting high acid to be a key characteristic of these cheeses, and that's where you want to go. The other thing that we're going to see with this cheese, because it is a fresh cheese, only just made, it's going to have a degree of sweetness which very few other cheeses have, because all the lactose in cheese gets consumed by the processes in any form of ripening and aging. So we're going to see just a small amount of lactose left. There's going to be a bit of sweetness. And to be honest, you will get saltness. Saltness, very much the gift of the cheesemaker. So you get saltier and less salty versions, but you're going to need some salt in there just to lift up the flavor, to give it some body, to give it some weight, some heft in the mouth. So those are our 3 major tastes. Do we see bitterness? No, you should not. Do we see umami? Maybe a little bit. Nothing to speak of. So those things right at the bottom. So we're big in the acid, a little bit of sweetness, and a little bit of salt. So that's where the taste coming in. Flavor-wise, it's going to be pretty much entirely light, fresh dairy flavors. The milks, maybe a bit of cottage cheese, and almost certainly something yogurty. Now, you might get a little bit of texture through in the dairy flavors that implies cheesiness, because milk obviously is a very liquid form, and yogurt's very soft, and with goat's curd it can be a little bit sticky. Let's get me on. So it can get sticky there. See, and that actually gives the impression of taste. I know it sounds like a weird thing, but it leads your brain into thinking cheesy notes. As it gets older, this cheese changes in flavor. When it's young, it's all milk. After a week or more, it begins to get a little bit savory and more body to it. So it changes quite quickly. Fresh cheeses like this, in theory, only get worse. They only degrade. Now, it turns out that some of the later cheeses, the 10-day-old cheeses, can have really good uses, particularly in cooking. But that is at the whim of the user. From its primary state, it only gets worse. Now, do I have any other flavors? Lemon is really common. I'm getting some nice lemoniness coming through there. And the lemoniness has that same characteristic. If you leave a lemon out, it becomes a little bit less sparkling, a bit duller lemon, which actually has flavor in itself, which is quite enjoyable. But when it's really fresh, it's that really bright lemoniness. So you will get that change again over the life of your fresh cheese. Maybe some onions, maybe some vanilla, maybe some grass, and maybe some goat's milk. Now, goat is going to be up to you. You will vary to your neighbor about how goaty it's going to taste to you. It's one of those things that's very personal. Some people can't do goat at all, and they really fall over it, not interested. And other people find, oh, that's not really goaty. Maybe a hint of farmyard, but that's not fine. Very personal. Find out for yourself. If goat's not for you, there's an argument for don't fight it. But try a few different types of goats. Some amazing goat's cheeses out there. Mouthfeel, very soft, compresses to a light paste in the mouth. I've got one here that you can see that that breaks, right? It breaks. So it's got a degree of rigidity to it. But here's one I've mashed, and it's the same cheese, not breaking at all, smooth and kind of tacky and icky. Very, very tasty, but the taste is sort of the same, but the texture can move depending on what the person who's giving to you cheese, or maybe got out of packet, has done with it. So texture moves. Description: always white goat's milk, matte white, the whitest of all cheeses. This is the white. When white goes white, then goat's curd is the whitest. It can be moussey, fluffy, and that kind of thing in appearance. Shape, it can go be into any shape, mostly served up as a log, that kind of thing, because that's convenient. There's just sort of history there. So that's sort of our masterclass on goat's milk cheeses. Absolutely love it. Very soft. Is it worth putting on a cheese board? That's an interesting question. If I was to put it on a cheese board, I would put it on with a friend to give it a little bit of extra weight, because on a cheese board you can have your blues, you can have your heavy cheddars and stuff like that. The goat's cheese to punch there, it's going to need some help. Think raspberries, think honey, think sort of flavored with juniper or nutmeg or something like that, just to give it some extra vava. And I have done cheese boards of just this with lots of different flavors. Amazing. People absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Really enjoy it. But what does it pair with in wine terms? Classically, we're talking about those Loire white wines, sort of bright and crystally and all that kind of thing. But my experience is actually quite flexible. And as long as you haven't got any heavy tannins or anything like that, you'll find that anything with a nice dose of fruit still present in the wine, or any other alcohol or non-alcoholic drink, is where this loves to be. Very flexible, unless the wine gets too heavy-bodied and punchy. Very nice cheese. I hope you've enjoyed that. That's my masterclass on goat's cheese. Check out my other masterclasses. It's all about knowledge to enjoyment.